All right, welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. I'm your host, Robert Michaels, and welcome to the greatest show on the internet on Thursday nights. I am excited. And if you're excited, raise your hand. There's one or
I can
two
do
of
the
you.
hand raise. Yeah.
All right, that was also a sound check to see who. We have been having all kinds of connectability problems. I only know one person that works for the Google Enterprise, and I need to call him after this because Google Hangouts is not working with us. And maybe that's because they're not a sponsor of the show. Speaking of sponsors of the show, this show is brought to you by several different wonderful entities on the interwebs. And I want to share with you some of those wonderful places. You can go to paraglidingtalk.com under sponsors to find any one of our magnificent sponsors of this show. Let me just pull that up real quick. I'm going to do a screen share. Here we go. And now we're cooking with Crisco. Start the screen share. Present to everyone. Okay, so our show is sponsored by, if you don't know Mike Cotter, you have to know him. Episode 62, if you're counting. We interviewed him. He recently became a sponsor of the show. Fly Michigan powered paragliders. If you're anywhere in the Michigan area and you're interested in powered paragliding, reach out to Mike Cotter and the guys at flymyppg.com. The show's also brought to you by iFly Indiana. iFly Indiana is a great place teaching you how to get off the ground. If you're interested in flying paramotors, no better place to get the proper training than iflyindiana.com. Kevin and his team will get your feet off the ground. Check out iflyindiana.com. Show is also brought to you by the Tri-State Skywalkers. Tri-State Skywalkers is run by Brandon McCloud. He's also a moderator on the show and one of my favorite people on the planet. If you are interested in creating a club or being a part of a club and you're in the Ohio area or anywhere in that middle of the United States of America, reach out to Brandon, and link can be found in the description if you're too lazy to go to the website. That's pretty lazy if you're that lazy. Also, the show is brought to you by Paraorange Products, paraorangeproducts.com. If you're looking for quality products that are handmade in the United States of the Americas for paramotoring and paragliding sports, you're going to need to check out Paraorange Products. There's a link to their website right here on our website. Check out I got advertisements on advertisements. What's going on around here? All righty. Well, ppgsmoke.com, huge sponsor of the show. They donated like $10,000 worth of these smoke machines. Really appreciate Ryan Roberts and his team that have created all kinds of cool stuff. They got follow cams and they got some big stuff on the table. I just heard some new news. Can't share that information, but I heard some new news about some paramotor stuff that's coming out very soon. You're definitely going to need to know about this website, ppgsmoke.com. Also, they're doing a giveaway. Every show for 52 episodes, they're giving away a smoke machine for your paramotor. Sign up at paraglidingtalk.com/contest and get your name in the hat for that big prize. The show is also brought to you by paramotortools.com. Paramotor Tools, LLC, fueling your passion for flight. If you're looking to stay in the air longer or want to have the security of knowing that you have some tools to make a repair if you are out and about and you have to make an inconvenient landing, well, you can have some convenient tools in a pouch. You'll be able to make the repairs that you need to wherever your flight may take you. Paramotortools.com. All right. I think that's everybody. We got all kinds of good sponsors, and I really appreciate everybody that's jumped on board to sponsor the show. You guys are awesome. Some of you guys are even here tonight. And hey, Parker, awesome. Let's get it going already.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
We've got next week a really big show, and these guys are fired up about it, and I am too. I can't tell you all the details about it because it's going to be a surprise, and it wouldn't be a surprise if I told you. But we're going to be doing a super chat show where all the donations that come in for your super chat are going to be going to Resurgence PPG. And if you don't know anything about Resurgence PPG, you need to check them out. But next week's show is going to be epic, and we're going to have a great time with that. So I'll just put that plug in there. That show is already rolling.
Parker, close the door.
Is that your dog, Ron?
Yeah, that's one of them. That's Gizmo.
Gizmo's a talker.
Yeah.
You'll have to catch him and put him on the show. Garrett Schoenmaker, thank you for your $2 gift. First paramotor flight was Tuesday with Predator. Sweet.
Congrats.
That's awesome.
Congratulations.
Yeah, you picked a good guy to teach you too. I really like Chris, and they're good guys out there. Well, let's get this show going. So tonight's episode 67, Lonestar Paramotor. They're in the Austin area, and they run a school out there. And if you haven't heard about them somehow or seen them at fly-ins, I'd be really surprised. But most of you guys already know these guys. And I actually got introduced to them a while back with, I think it was the show that we did where you guys were in a trailer at a fly-in or something.
Yeah, we were not in
Yes,
Florida.
it was.
And you guys were, it was like 20 people deep in a I was just imagining that it was a trailer. And but anyways, that was
an RV.
really,
Yeah, it was an RV. Yeah,
Nice.
It was a lot of fun.
yeah, it looked like it was out of control in there. But anyways, from that moment, I was like, gosh, I got to get those guys on. And so we're here, and I'm so glad that you said yes when I invited you to come on the show. So thank you. So maybe Ron, you go first, introduce yourself, and just briefly tell us what your role is with the school, and then Parker, you can jump in.
Sure. So I'm Ron Turan, and I'm 56 years old, and I'm the owner of Lonestar Paramotor. And I couldn't do it without the help of Parker and another one of our instructors, Jeff. But we're one of the Alliance schools, the Aviator Alliance School, so we use the same equipment and the same strategies, teaching strategies that they use too.
Okay. And then Parker, you must live somewhere around there. And
yeah, I live actually about a mile away from where we train. I'm very, very conveniently located to a flying field.
Nice. So you also train with the Aviator group. What's your role with the Alliance?
I always tell people it's a funny story. I kind of hired myself to work with Ron when Ron started his school down here. He was going to do it by himself, and I wanted to help him, so I just started helping. And then after a while, he realized that it worked, so he brought me on as an actual team member.
Oh, nice.
So I hired myself.
That's how I do it. That's excellent. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, it was a good hiring decision too. I'd been a second grade teacher for 25 years, and retired to do this full time last May. And Parker was instrumental in helping Lonestar grow. So it's been a wild ride ever since.
Second grade, man. Yeah, I remember that was
25 years. That was a tough year. Yeah,
that was a tough year for me.
He has that patience level of a saint that I couldn't even think about doing what he was doing. But it translates really well because a lot of the people we teach are kind of the same mental level. That's the 7 and 8 year olds he's used to.
Maybe talk about that a little bit. I'm the same way. If you talk to Phil Russman today, and Phil, if you're watching, I love you, man. There's been times where he's telling me, hey, listen, pull a little right brake. You know, I'm on radio. Pull a little right brake. Pull a right brake. Right brake. Right brake. Pull right brake. And I'm like, oh yeah, the other right. You know. Yeah. And there's something about just in the beginning. I don't know. Maybe I'm overloaded, brain cells maxed out, or whatever.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some overload in the beginning. Anyway,
what do you guys think? And let me just start off by saying that the focus of this show is to make every pilot or aspiring pilot have something that they can take away from every show that they can apply to themselves, make themselves a better and a safer pilot. What do you guys bring to the table tonight for that?
Go ahead, Ron.
I was going to defer to you, Parker. Yeah, I don't know. We see everyone usually struggle the first few days of class with kiting. And at some point, it turns from frustrating into fun. And I guess if I could give any advice, it's that after you learn to kite, continue to kite. A lot of people will only learn to kite because they're going to fly. But if it's too windy to fly, sometimes it's not too windy to kite and get a lot of practice in. So one of the things I would suggest doing is kite as often as you can. Better kiters are better launchers and better flyers.
And we like to make a game out of it. We like to get those students doing their first little kiting wars before the end of training. And their goal is whoever wins out of all the students gets to try to beat me, which doesn't typically work as well for them. But it's a fun game.
So how does that game work?
It's just a kiting war. Last wing in the air wins.
Yeah,
you basically just maneuver around behind them and steal their wind, make them drop their wing.
Oh, yeah. Create a rotor for them?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what Tony Boyer does to me at Torrey Pines, except for I'm in the air.
Right. Yeah, we do it all ground-based. It's because I'm a big guy, but I'm oddly agile for a larger person.
One of the things that you guys have to do is come to San Diego and free fly Torrey Pines.
I would love to.
Put it on.
We
your
would love
bucket
to
list.
do that. You got it.
Yeah, you have to. Mandatory.
Yeah.
If you come here, obviously.
Well, the only thing there is we got to go get our P2 rating first, right? Didn't Torrey require
P3.
P2 rating? P3?
Yeah, P3.
Yeah, so we got to we're PPG rated. We're not P rated yet. So we'll
Yeah,
have to get
not yet.
First.
You have to launch from the different launch. That's down the beach a little ways.
I'll launch from wherever.
I'm just kidding. Don't do that. You'll get in trouble.
Give me 10 feet open space and I'm in the air. No, I'm just kidding. It's not that quick.
So, number one safety tip, you say ground handling. What's next? What's after that?
Ground handling is the biggest skill, not ground starting a motor is number one safety tip.
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
I would say the same thing. There really isn't a reason to ever start your motor on the ground. On your back or on the rack is the only place to do it. And we know of too many people who have started it on the ground and the motor jumped to full power and they paid the price. So number one safety thing is never start your motor on the ground.
Far too often seeing people starting their motors on the ground too.
Oh,
yeah, we were down in Aviator a couple of months ago, and there was a guy who stubbornly is trying to ground start his motor, and I went over and explained to him that that's not what we do here, and of course he just said, I've been doing it that way for 10 years, and it's difficult to start. So I just offered to put it on my back, and he could start it on my back, and I would walk it out across the field, and then we would switch, and I would pull start it for him. So, and anything to stop a guy from potentially hurting himself.
And he let you do that?
Yeah, he looked at me first. First, he was a little combative, and then he looked at me and said, "Oh, like concierge service." I said, "Exactly." So, so after that, he was okay with it.
So, I mean, the guy's been doing it, and let's just stretch that out a little bit. That conversation needs to be had. If you're starting your motor on the ground, what is it that you're saving yourself by doing that?
Yeah, usually it's someone who has a pull start, and it's just difficult to pull start it when it's on your back. So people put it on the ground, try to pull start it to warm it up. Then once it's warm, they'll put it on and then start it up. So that's what they're trying to do. Almost always they say it's easier to start if it's on the ground. And that's true, but it's just as easy to have a friend start it for you as well.
Yeah.
Well, we talk about the sport being as safe as you make it, and that's just one of those easy decisions to not make. And the people that make that decision, they're just asking for it to bite them someday. And just because he's done it for 10 years and hasn't got bitten yet, doesn't mean that he won't ever get bitten.
Right. And then you won't hear about it, or if you do, it's third-hand information. It's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm not supposed to say anything, but Joe chopped his finger off. Or worse, did you ever see that video where the guy, he has it on his back, but he ends up dropping the controller and it goes full throttle and just shoves him into the ground?
Yeah, it gets jammed up in the carrier, actually.
In the carrier, yeah.
Brutal.
Yep, have seen that.
if you think about the strength of the motor, you talk about you've got between the torque of the thing wanting to spin you and then the thrust pounds per square inch or however they measure it. You're talking potentially hundreds, maybe 200 pounds. I don't know, 300 pounds. What's a motor pushing these days?
I think it's probably closer to 175, 180 pounds of thrust, but it's not even that. What it is you're not ready for it. I
Right.
mean, everybody can go do a lean back and lean back against a full throttle motor and they're fine. It's okay because they're ready for it. It's when it jumps on you and you're
Right.
not ready for it, it's way stronger than you are and it's fast. There's no way to stop it.
Yeah. And then you think about it, if you had somebody standing behind you and just start shoving you in a direction, you're not going to be able to correct fast enough. And so let's imagine now that motor's on the ground. If it can make you fly through the air, and Parker, you seem like a pretty big guy. If it can take you into the air, what's it going to do to you on the ground if you're not attached to it? So anyways, that is a huge, and I really appreciate that answer, because that is the most common thing that I see when I'm going scanning through YouTube videos, and I'm like, oh man, don't do that. I'll even comment if I see a video, love your channel, be careful with those ground starts or something to try to dissuade people from doing that.
Yeah, we had a husband and wife that were training with us, and he got his motor before the class started. And we had talked to him about only starting it on the rack or on your back. And the first time he started it on the car carrier, but the second time he accidentally started it in the garage, and it flew at him and took a chunk of his arm and a little piece of his scalp as well. So he was out of commission for about a year with rehab and with skin grafts until finally he and his wife could come back and train with us.
But he did come back, huh?
He did. And wow. The first time we started the motor up, he just ran. He was in another zip code before we could, before we realized it. And, it was a traumatic experience for him. But each time we started the motor up, he could get a little bit closer and closer. And he and his wife are really great pilots up in the Dallas area.
Brutal.
Yeah, I know multiple people that the prop has gotten them, and they've all been lucky to not lose any limbs or anything. But like he said, that was an accident. Like he had it on the ground, and he wasn't even like full on pulling it. He just pulled it, and it happened to roll over on the compression. And it doesn't take a lot. It rolls on that compression cycle, and it jumped at him, and that's all it takes.
What can people expect when they come to Lone Star for training?
A bunch of different things. So
go for it, Parker.
Yeah, we actually have a pretty standardized schedule as far as what happens on what days. I mean, there's always weather dependent and things change, but it's very intensive. It's a lot of kiting. We've actually now started to limit the kiting a little bit. We were having people just wear themselves out completely because they were doing too much of it. And then we go right into simulators and tows. Every day, midday, it's a lot of ground schooling. We go through all the regulations, the FAR 103, the weather, the airspace. We make sure that when people leave that they're ready to go home and fly on their own safely. Like my goal is not for someone to leave with 100 flights or 50 flights. It's not a number. It's a proficiency level. I don't want to have to worry about you. If you train with me and you go home and get a motor, I want to know that I'm not going to get a phone call.
No phone call.
Right. If I get a phone call, it'll be hey, I just had an awesome flight. That's the phone call I want.
So first day, you say a lot of ground handling, I assume?
Yeah. A lot of kiting first day, right out to the field. We do the ground school, the classroom instruction when the conditions aren't okay to be out on the field. But otherwise, we're out there kiting and doing classroom instruction. Usually day 2, we're doing simulator work and taxi work on the ground. Sometimes on day 2 or the morning of day 3, we're doing towing, winch towing. And then on the 3rd or 4th day, weather depending, they're actually flying, taking their first flights. Usually the class lasts about 10 days from start to finish.
Talk about your tow operation. So you'll tow them up, just a couple hundred feet, and then
Yeah, not even that.
Even that
We'll
now.
take them up to about 50, 75 feet, and we'll tow them along for maybe 100 to 150 yards, and then they come back down and they land. This is all without the motor on their back, and it gives them a sense of taking off and landing, adding pressure to get off the ground and to flare for a landing. But it's also a good early warning sign. It lets the instructors know who might sit down on their first launches.
Oh, so you make sure you give him the older gear in the beginning.
Well,
so he doesn't
we
crash.
well, if they start to sit down, the winch operator, which is Parker, lets off the throttle, and they'll sit right down on the ground. So, but it is a good indicator of who might sit during their first flights.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's good practice.
And
too.
how many flights
Yeah.
typically do you tow them up before you put a motor on them and send them out?
Yeah, it all depends. Some people are ready to go after just 2 or 3. Some of them need 5 or 6. But until they're launching and landing on their feet comfortably, typically about 4 flights.
Okay. And the people, and I know this is not all about this whole show is not a big promotion of your show, although it is kind of. And I'm just asking these questions. When you come to your school, you're having to bring your own gear, if you've got everything.
No, we've got everything there. We've got a lot of local. Yeah, we've got helmets, we've got comm gear, we've got the motors, the harnesses, the wings, everything. So you use all of our gear, and sometimes students will come with they've already pre-purchased equipment, and we let them fly that gear after they learn how to launch and land without dinging it up too badly. So we let them dent our gear first.
Wow.
Before we let them fly their own. But yeah, all of the gear is the school gear that the students are using.
Interesting.
And we do a lot of the ground school in my living room.
Really?
Yeah. We just Apple TV, just screen mirror. So we videotape all the launches and landings. We go back to the house midday and we do like frame by frame review of what the student's doing to really
that is brilliant.
dial in. Yeah.
Yeah, we do that for the towing, and we do that for the first flights as well. So we can critique their takeoffs and landings, and we'll zoom in and look at posture, and we'll look at hand position and brake pull and things like that, and critique all of the takeoffs and landings.
Okay, Ron, this is specific for you. How did you get into the sport?
For me, it was a midlife crisis. I turned 50. I got divorced, and then I didn't have a wife telling me I couldn't do it anymore. So I've been a flight enthusiast since I was a kid. My grandfather used to take me to air shows in New York when I was a child, and learned to fly RC aircraft as a small kid. So I've flown RC stuff over the years, and started an after-school Flyboys club for kids who wanted to learn how to fly as well. So I think I've always wanted to fly. I just haven't been able to afford the money or the time. But like I said, after I turned 50 and I went through a midlife crisis, that's when I picked up the sport.
So who did you see flying that you said, oh, look at that guy's flying?
Yeah, so this is 6 years ago, and the only guys on are Dell and Captain Kurt, and this new guy named Eric the Aviator, who had just come onto the scene as well. So those were the only real few people to follow at the time.
And so is there any one specific person that you look to even today for instruction?
Oh, well, I definitely look to Eric for instruction. I've been going down to Aviator PPG for a while now. When they restructured around the first of the year, Eric and Travis kind of stepped off the field to do more of the business side of things, and they brought me down there to help teach the ground school down there. So there's always something to learn, which is one of the great things about going down there.
Parker, so same thing, same questions for you. How did you end up getting into the sport?
I was a little bit different than most people nowadays. We hear a lot that I saw Tucker and I want to do this. I was actually a skydiver, and I was on my way back from the drop zone, and I saw a couple guys flying around fairly near to my house. I went home and immediately started Facebook, Google, YouTube stalking, and I actually found out who those guys were. Reached out, and asked them if I could come up and just kind of watch and ask some questions, and they were totally open to that. I went up there, and from day one, it was like they were family. Like there was no, they didn't want to even, they knew my name. That was basically all they needed to know. They just started downloading information on me, which is a big difference from the skydiving world. I tell people all the time, the skydiving world's almost like high school. It's very cliquish. There's the cool kids group and the new kids group. And I didn't have any friends to go skydive with. So I was always kind of the loner. It was just me. Nobody would really even talk to me. And the paramotor was the exact opposite. I went down to the field and everybody was immediately my friend. I got invited to my first fly-in 4 months before I did training. So I just immediately started spending all my time around it. I sold all my skydiving gear, and other than a couple yearly tandems with other people, I haven't done it since.
Yeah, skydiving, that seems like a rich kid sport.
So initially it's fairly similar to the price to get into this. The training cost me about the same. The gear's a little bit cheaper, but if I went to the drop zone, I was spending $100 a day just for the trips up to go jump. So long run, it ends up being a lot more expensive.
Yeah, especially if you want to enjoy it. What is it, like a 5-minute flight?
Oh, if you're lucky, you get 45 seconds of free fall and about 3 minutes of under canopy.
And that's if you throw, early.
Oh yeah, 45 seconds will get you down from 14.5 to about 4,000. And then after that, it's just canopy ride. But if you're doing anything fun, you're losing altitude faster. So if you're doing any spins or anything, you're below an altitude, and it just makes the ride even shorter.
And so that time being under canopy, you were like, man, I really like this aspect of the sport. And then you said, I'm going to try to get into paragliding.
I had no idea what paragliding or paramotoring was. Like I said, I was driving home, and then up in the sky, I saw 2 guys flying around. I was like, I got to know what that is.
Okay, I misunderstood what you were saying. I thought you said you saw some skydivers jumping.
No, I was a skydiver first.
Got it. Okay, yeah. Interesting. And they were obviously on motors. And so who was it?
It was actually 2 of the local guys. It was Roy and Kevin. So Roy Kiger and Kevin Bisang, a couple of guys that fly to Kitty Hawk a lot, which at the time I lived all of 5 minutes away from Kitty Hawk. So
you stalked them online, found them, and then said, "Hey, what's up, guys?"
I did. I found out what it was through Google and started just sending mass messages out to anyone in the San Antonio area with a paramotor in their picture. And the first person to reply for me was a guy that used to fly but had quit. But he told me who it was most likely. And I started sending, I just sent them both a message. And Roy replied almost immediately and was like, "Oh, absolutely. Come out to the field. I'll show you what it is, what it's all about. Who not to train with."
What did you type in the search engine?
I started with motorized parachute.
Okay.
Because I had no idea what it was. And,
I just want to know so I can reel some more people in with my thumbnails and
yeah, no, it was. I knew that they had a motor on, but to me, it still looked like a parachute. I didn't even know the difference between a paraglider and a parachute. Essentially, the difference between a wing and a chute. So.
Yep. Butt fan and parachute.
That's right.
That's epic. We're at the halfway mark. I do want to do a giveaway tonight.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be a wonderful Paragliding Talk Tow Pro. By the way, there's some great news. There's some great news. This is actually my Tow Pro. I'm giving this one away, and I'll tell you why in just a second. 1 second is up. I'm going to tell you. There's some new ones coming out, and I'm buying some for the show. They are fantastic. So they're Johnny Wisconsin. He originally made these and had these custom cut, and so he made some new ones. Sent me some pictures of the prototypes, and I don't know if I can even share this or not. Hopefully Johnny doesn't care. I'm gonna share it anyways. Johnny, check this out. You're just gonna have to look for my phone because I'm not tech savvy enough to do it any other way. Okay, so comes with a strap. It obviously still goes on the toe of your shoe. You can tether it, I guess, with those two little holes in the bottom, but then it's a strap that you can just kind of take it off when you're done instead of having to pull your laces out. And that was the only drawback that I could see. And the base has some bolts to kind of keep the GoPro aspect of it attached. And that's what it looks like, finished product. Pretty slick. So anyways, I'm going to get a bunch of those and give them away on the show because I like giving away stuff. We had some people over today and they were asking me about t-shirts because we were showing them how to make the t-shirts and paragliding talk t-shirts and whatever. And they were like, "Oh, those are awesome. How much are they?" And I was like, "Well, I'm not selling them. We're just giving them away. We're creating demand." Okay, creating demand. Sean, I know you can't hear me.
I can't hear you.
You can hear me. Okay, I can't hear you.
Yeah.
So Sean's going to be pulling the winner for that. So you can hear me.
Go
ahead and pull the name at your leisure.
Here we go.
Toe Pro, I really like it.
Now
Mike
you guys can
Tadlock.
hear me, right?
Glad you like it, Mike.
Uh-oh. Can you
there's
guys
some
hear
new
me?
ones. They were
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
We got you,
I
Sean.
wonder if everybody else can hear me but Robert.
Everyone else can hear Sean, but I can't.
And if that's the case, Robert's butt stinks.
Just let me know if he cusses so we can charge him.
All right. Let me know when. Tell him for me.
Do it, Sean. Pull
Now,
it.
Garrett
Read it.
Shoemaker.
Garrett Shoemaker. Garrett made a donation to the show, and look, it already paid itself off.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Garrett Shoemaker.
Garrett Shoemaker.
Let's see if he's still in the chat. Yeah, he's there. Ah. Congratulations. Garrett, reach out to me use the website, paraglidingtalk.com. Reach out to me not in the contest forms, but in one of the other forms, and send me your details so I can get this sent out to you. Congratulations. And thanks for your gift, by the way. And I swear the show's not rigged. I know we get that every once in a while. Todd Scandrett, nonstop. He's convinced that the show's rigged for the giveaways.
He did win something.
All right.
He did though.
Larry, are you can you hear me? No, he shakes his head. No, he can't hear me.
I can hear your wife.
Larry's been one of the sponsors of the show, and usually about the half an hour mark, he's got something that he wants to bring to the table or something he wants to announce. I just want to make sure that we're all good.
I actually have a question for Parker and Ron.
Yes,
Do
sir.
you gentlemen teach wheeled machines or just foot launch?
So that's actually an up and coming change. So we haven't started to teach the wheel machines yet, but we did just get our first wheel machine in no more than 3 days ago. So we've got some stuff to do with that before we open that up to an actual class, but it is in the works for future classes.
Would it be a fly product?
It is a Fly Products.
Excellent machine.
Did you get a new wing yet, Larry?
No, I didn't get a new wing yet. I'm flying my Charger. Actually had a great flight on Saturday. No, didn't get a new wing yet. Haven't decided if I'm going to repair the one that got blended or just purchase. I want to get a smaller wing. I've been flying very large wings for the last 2 years. I'd like to get something a little smaller, like a 34. So I haven't decided yet, and haven't gotten the approval from the bag lady. But things going well. Did want to just mention that due to the show, and I guess the fly-in and Brandon, your show, which I was on Sunday, I did get to view your show Sunday. Excellent. You had Gorilla on.
Yes.
Still having nightmares about when he stood up in his underwear. But that's okay.
Wait a second. I didn't know he did that.
Yeah, you
That
missed
happened.
that. Yeah, it happened.
I logged on, watched the first half of it, then I had to dip out.
Yeah.
That is
Gave me
hilarious.
nightmares.
Go back and watch it.
Thanks for the fair warning.
He's got a problem because he did the same thing at Palm Bay. Pulled his shirt up. I mean, you gotta watch it.
Yes, I'm gonna have to write some new rules for the show.
But you know, we've been getting a lot of emails. I mean, a lot of emails. I can't even answer them all in a day about going, you know, trike to quad. And I say, well, really, we ought to talk about, and Ron and Parker, foot launch to wheeled. And that's where I came from. I went foot launch to wheeled. And glad to hear that Ron and Parker are getting into teaching wheeled and not just jumping into it, because it is a completely different dynamic. And, you know, one of the questions people have asked me in the last 2 weeks, do you need to learn to be a foot launch pilot before a wheel pilot?
Ooh, that's a great question.
From my perspective, I would say no, but with the caveat, you do have to learn to kite. And you have to learn to kite on your standing up or 2 feet, because that's the only way you're going to know how a wing handles.
Yeah.
And then from that, you have to learn, before you go into the sky, you have to learn how to taxi, whether it's a trike or a quad. My instructor down in Miami, he would not let me take off until I could taxi in my quad all the way down the runway, turn around and come back. Until I could do that numerous times, he would not let me in the sky. So
No.
you know, a lot of people ask that question. So the answer is you don't have to, I feel. I mean, I did learn how to foot launch. You don't have to learn how to foot launch first, but you have to learn how to kite. And if anybody tells you you can do it without kiting, you're going to spend a lot of money on repairing props and on fixing wings.
Yeah.
You have to learn to kite. And I'm as bad as anybody else. I think you said it, Ron. I used to kite all the time, and now you get lazy. You just get in the seat, you bring it up, and you go. I really should kite more than I do. You just get lazy and complacent.
Yeah, I think eventually we're all gonna end up on trikes. As we grow older, our landing gear doesn't get any younger, and you get to be 50 years old, and your warranty expires, and it's hard to get original parts. So I think eventually, if you fly for long enough, we're gonna end up on trikes. But
but if you're wearing diapers, it's a little easier to kick it out.
Well, depends.
Sean, as you get older, your flights don't go longer than 45 minutes.
Thanks for clearing that up, Larry, because I was confused there for a minute.
Interesting thought.
Kick the legs.
I mean, I look at it like this. If you can't kite the wing, I'm just picturing myself at Torrey Pines. If you can't kite the wing sitting on the ground in your harness, probably can't fly a trike, because you hit the gas, the wing's got to come up. You don't have the convenience of really looking back for very long. You might be able to catch the tip of it, and then it's either you feel it and it's good, or abort and turn it off before it pulls your wing in there and chops it up for you.
Yeah, I was fortunate. I was down at Aviator when they had a trike class, a trike only class, and Eric DeFore was teaching it. So I got a chance to watch him really closely. And one of the days it was must have been blowing 25, 30 miles an hour. And he had them out on a golf cart. He's driving the cart down the field into the wind. And on the back of it, there's a seat where the student is sitting there, and he's kiting a speed wing as the kites go, as the cart's going forward, and there's another instructor in the back of the golf cart helping the student kite. So it was a real interesting way to introduce the students to kiting, on a trike in tremendous wind conditions.
That's interesting.
One of the things that and Parker, you're probably familiar with this. One of the things that people don't realize, we can't correct on a wheeled machine like I could do when I was foot launching. I could get right under the wing by sidestepping.
Right.
You can't sidestep in a wheeled machine.
No, and that's you do the exact opposite. So when you're foot launching, you move body first and then pull second. With the cart,
Right.
you pull first and then steer into it slightly second.
Yeah,
So
I wonder.
it's exactly the opposite of what you would normally do. Which that's why I was saying I don't think you need to foot launch first, because a lot of times it's harder to change habits than it is to create them. And my habit is to move first and pull second. So there's a delay there when I'm on a trike.
And the last thing before I go, Robert, not I go, but before I shut up, people ask me about trike opposed to quad. A quad is more stable. It's 4 wheels, and it is more stable from crosswind. Now, we should always be taking off into the wind, but depending on your situation, airport, field, sometimes we do take off in crosswinds. Trikes have a tendency to roll more than a quad will. But you'll also see in the trike world, I classify them as 2 things, light trike and a heavy trike. A foot launch pilot that buys, a lot of pilots will buy a T-frame, as I call them, and they'll take a T-frame 3-wheel light trike. When I say light, it's not made light, it's just a lighter weight, and they'll use their foot launch equipment. And those type of trikes are great for foot launch pilots who learn the fundamentals of wheels and really know how to handle a wing. When you're going straight into a wheeled unit, you don't want to go with a light trike. You want to go with a heavier trike, like Sky Product makes the, help me, Ron, I think it's called the Vertigo. Is that the one, the Vertigo?
Yeah, for fly products, yeah. Vertigo
products.
is an excellent training trike.
Night, yeah. They even have, and I was at Palm Bay. Our booth was right next to Aviator, good friends of ours, and they had a Vertigo with the coolest thing I've ever seen before. The back of the cage, is like a fan screen on it. I was like, that is great. I want one now.
Yeah, it's a great idea to put the netting on the back where the prop is. Also, it keeps the lines out of the prop, so it doesn't get fouled.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah.
Is there any drawbacks to that? I would think that if something accidentally did come off, maybe something falls off the motor and it's like a blender.
Yeah, it's more drag, but it's just a safety thing for training.
Yeah, those carbon fiber props, they're gone anyways.
Yeah.
But for training, that's a great tool. When I was lucky during training, I didn't eat up any wing. I've done it afterwards. But if you're going to go right into the wheeled area of this, and I like flying a wheeled machine. I come from general aviation, and I've always flown planes with wheels, and they usually worked. But when you get older and you're in your 50s and 60s, there's a large amount of people that reach out to me that have never done this before. They've watched this guy's video from Ohio, and they really want to get into it, and they kind of look a little further. And the only suggestion I want to make to people that want to go straight to wheeled, you don't want to get something light. You want to get something a little bit more substantial. I think quads are the way to go for newbies because they're more stable. There are machines out there that can go from trike to quad or quad to trike. There's some great products out there. So I just wanted to answer because we did get so many emails. And Robert, we're going to be making an announcement in about 2 weeks on some product changes in the area of equipment. I'm not going to talk about it yet, but the deals have been made. We're working on a website, so there's going to be some real big announcements coming out, and not just for the sake of selling and making money. I mean, we make our money on the soft products we sell and the products we make here. We don't make a lot of money on the equipment that we resell, but it's my goal to make this sport reachable for people from a financial point of view. A lot of people call me and want to get into it, but don't have, $18,000 to $20,000, or they look at the cost and say, I could buy a
nice car.
Something. Yeah, more a car. I could buy a Delta Wing for $25,000. So we're working with the manufacturer to bring out a trike and a quad, in a price range that I think is going to just be unbelievable compared to what's out. It's going to be in the price range of a foot launch unit. But we'll be making that announcement in about 2.5, 3 weeks. Just a little teaser there.
I think I'm going to have you come on the show and do a whole episode on trikes and quads, and maybe we'll have the gorilla come on too.
Oh, as long as we're not in the same room.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are hilarious, man. That one episode when you guys were sitting there swatting mosquitoes the whole time, that was a great show. That was super fun.
He's a fun guy to hang. You know, actually, Gorilla Ground, which is his dad.
Yeah.
His name is also Rick. He is just a great person. And I think the highlight for me of the whole Palm Bay fly-in is when Rick had his father do a tandem. And we're trying to get him Rick Sr. into the sport now. So,
yeah. You think he'll do it?
Oh yeah, you know, he's a pilot.
I know that.
He built his own plane and he worked for some of the major companies. He was beside himself. He loved it. We had dinner that night and he says, I got to get into this. I said, not a problem. We get you into this. So I think he's ready. He's in, they're at the, if you're in Florida this week, it's the Sun and Fun.
Yeah.
Which is our big air show. Unfortunately, I can't go because I have 2 employees on vacation.
Ron and Parker are actually leaving right after the show. Like literally, I think their bags are already packed. They're ready to rock and roll. So as soon as this is over, they're just going to turn off the internet and head to the.
We're going to head to Sun and Fun. Yeah, I think it's a short 17 or 18-hour drive.
Oh man!
But we're hoping to catch the last couple of days of the show.
Brutal. Hey, by the way, Toledo Boys. Toledo Fly Boys is one of the favorites for the show. He asked a question about what's your daily driver for what do you go to for flying? Wing and motor.
Everybody or just each
Both
one?
You guys.
Right now, my daily flyer is the Parajet Maverick and the Sirocco 2. I do fly a 22 meter, which I'm a little bit over the weight limit on. I like a faster wing, faster landing. I have to run a little bit more to take off, but it's a small sacrifice for the speed I get under wing. And
I'm flying Parajet Atom 80 and 19 meter Sirocco 2.
Nice. How much do you weigh?
I'm about 165.
Perfect. I'm weighing out my 240, and you're flying the 185.
I know, yeah, but I'm on the same wing. I'm just on the 22 instead of the 19.
Right. Yeah, the power is critical on that one to get that much weight up in there, right?
Yeah, and I flew the Nitro for a long time, and the Nitro is less power than the 185, but it was plenty of power too.
Oh, the Nitro?
If I really wanted to push it, people my size have launched the Atom 80. Like, it can be done, but I'd probably have to use a different wing. I don't think my wing would do it with that motor.
Be a lot of running.
Right.
Be a lot of wide open throttle too.
I think the Atom 80 seems like a cool motor. I'm from free flight world, and I just, if anything can make me go up with pulling a trigger, I think that's great. But I guess my mind would change after I had limited power for a long time, and I don't know. Did anybody watch that video Woody put out this morning or this afternoon?
His thermal attempts?
Yeah,
that was great.
He did great, man. I was really impressed. That's the first time I've ever seen anybody do that.
Being new to it.
He literally just flew around and turned it off and called it. I mean, he was predicting everything that he was doing. I think he did great. And so he's going to be it's not going to be long, and you're going to see him doing free flight videos.
Yeah, I know it's something that we're all interested in. The only thing is, like, when I was at we were up at Point of the Mountain when we were with Kyle doing the Paracarnival. And I noticed that there are a few of you guys that are purist, that you're like, no, you can't do motors. You only do paragliders. I'd like to do both, not just one or the other.
Yeah, well, it's not about purists as much as it is about not having the money to buy one.
Right. Well, and they
That's all my
forget,
why.
like, I live in Texas. I mean, it's 3 state size, normal state size worth of flat land. I don't have any mountains or anything out here.
Not nearby.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I'm in the center of Texas. It's an 8-hour drive in any direction before I'm even out of Texas.
Yeah, but you
I
have
used to have a
tow-
car like that.
We do have a tow machine, but we've just been using it for training, not for fun flights.
Maybe we should change that.
Interesting. Yeah, you guys gotta.
We have some volunteers. Yeah, we've got some volunteers to come out and see how high we can get them.
Oh, by the way, Kyle said you guys need to stop by his house on the way out to us.
I know. I told him this time we can't because Ron's staying down at Aviator to teach their next class, and I'm actually flying back. But I'll probably see him next at EFD. But at some point, I just want to fly and have video of the Kylo Lee mowed into the grass.
Yeah.
I need that picture.
That's a cool picture. I'm gonna do that same thing. Yeah, man. So Sun and Fun, that's big deal. That'll
be a lot of fun.
What's the plan when you guys get there?
I don't know. We'll be getting in late tomorrow night, and we'll just have to see what's going on there. Aviator's next class starts April 13th, and I'm down there to teach the class. So I'll have a few days off to myself before that happens. So Sun and Fun will be a blast, and we'll see what else happens down there.
What does the weather look like?
Parker, have you checked the weather yet?
I have not. It's 2 days out. It's worthless to check weather 2 days out. 2 days out means nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that to myself far too often.
Oh yeah, you check it more than a day out, and you're basically reading nothing because it's going to change.
Yeah, I had a guy just before the show text me and go, "Hey, want to go to the mountains tomorrow?" I check the weather and it looks like it's gonna be blown out. I'm like, "Ah, man, probably gonna have to wait." But let's wait until tomorrow to check the weather again. The weatherman, it's the only job you can have. Be dead wrong, still have a job the next day.
I would like once for a weatherman to apologize, just to say, I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Got it wrong, folks.
Yep. Yeah.
Till next time.
Who else could do their job that poorly and get it wrong that often and still keep their job?
It is pretty amazing where we've come. I'm going to be 40 next year, so I've seen a pretty good amount of weather over my days, and I think every one of us watches it at some point during the day. But they're able to predict the wind direction, the wind speed, almost to the mile per hour. I mean, and it's accurate a lot of the time. I know we argue and say, it's always wrong. It's always wrong. I'm floored at, like, when we have these models and these guys predict what the lift is going to be, how high you're going to go, where cloud base is going to be, and how high a paraglider is going to be able to fly. It's like, and the mathematics that involves insanity. I love it, but maybe that's why I love free flying so much. What do you got, Anthony?
No, I was just reading one of the chats. Andrew Everts wrote, "Did I hear the TV weather guy consulted Kyle O?"
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought that was epic too.
That is a fact. Kyle, he went famous real quick overnight. He was on every channel, every local station, and some national. I wish Kyle was on here. It was
he is.
I think he was on.
He's in the chat.
Yeah, I sent him an invite to come on, but he's probably sitting there in his underwear. Well, I think it was a morning show, like a national morning show. Put him on there, showed the video or whatever.
He was on NBC Nightly News here.
That's pretty cool, though. Something that we probably need to talk about eventually on the show is what to do if you have a viral video. One of the guys, and actually Kyle said this happened to him too. He had that video, and I think it was Junk In Videos has been hounding him because they want to buy the rights to the footage. And I was like, well, why didn't you sell it to him? And he goes, no, I don't want to do that. He goes, because then I can't own it. Then I have no rights to it. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So be careful when somebody has a wipeout or something. You have some video of somebody maybe doing something crazy or something you know is going to go viral. Don't just sell it right away. You better consult paraglidingtalk.com first.
I'll sell it to Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle. Yeah, call Kyle. Yeah. Yes, sir. Well, we're almost out of time. I do want to open up for questions and comments from the chat. If you guys have anything that you want to ask the guys from Lone Star, and or if you have anything that you want to add to the show, we are going to do a giveaway in just a second here for the PPG Smoke. There is an announcement, by the way. Maybe you didn't sign up for the PPG Smoke contest on paraglidingtalk.com/contest. Maybe you didn't sign up because you don't have a paramotor and you're a free flight guy and you're like, I wouldn't want to put that on my lawnmower anyways. He is also giving away the chase cams now. So you can either get a smoke machine, or if you wanted a chase cam, maybe you already have a smoke machine and you're like, I didn't put it in because that. Well, if you want to get in on the action, he'll substitute the smoke machine for chase cam, and those chase cams are now out. Some of you actually already have them. I saw them pop up. By the way, follow the show on Instagram, Paragliding Talk on Instagram. I'm going to try to pull this up fast here.
Lone Star already follows you on Instagram.
Who does?
Lone Star Paramotor.
Oh yeah, I know that. That is a fact. I don't know how to bring it up. I'm still learning how to use it. Yeah, there you go. Paragliding. And we'll see how this goes. Once I get a certain amount of people following, I guess I'll start letting announcements go on there. And who knows? I was thinking about hiring my son to do some of the logistics, because I spend like 2 hours at a shot on average for every show, pre-show, after show, organizing. And so if you want to support the show, you can at paraglidingtalk.com. You can do it on Patreon. There's a bunch of guys that support the show on Patreon. By the way, if you're one of those guys, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. For $1 or $2 an episode, or $1 or $2 a month, you can support the flying community and learn something, or have somebody else learn something that might save their life, or just keep them safe and make the sport a better thing. And that's the whole goal of the show. So I appreciate everybody who supports the show, and those who are considering, just do it. Pull the trigger and invest in the show. If you're interested in sponsoring the show, check out the sponsors page. And at the bottom of the page, there is a little description of what to look for. So if you're interested in doing that, I'd encourage you, if you haven't checked out the website, go check it out. There's all kinds of good stuff on there. And the show, and I probably haven't said anything about this. This is the advertise information sponsor stuff. I started the show, and if you ever look at the website, on the top of the website, there's a picture of my wing balled up. Hey, James Richardson, thanks for your gift, man. I had an episode. I had a Cascade episode, and I was really heavy on the brakes, and I was right next to a thermal. It was all kinds of things that were going on, all kinds of dynamics that made it just insane. I ended up in a spiral, and all kinds of weird stuff happened. But anyways, after that, I was like, man, I've got to learn more about this sport. I need to figure some stuff out. And I thought, man, it'd be awesome if there was a place we could go on the internet and talk to people live and ask questions. Because sometimes it's embarrassing to open up about your situations when you're at a fly-in, and you know there's a bunch of pilots around that are better than you, and you hesitate. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but you hesitate to say, hey, you ask a question, and to them, that's like, oh, that's a new guy question. Yeah, come on over here, new guy. Let me, and that's never happened. But inside, when you're the new guy, that's the way you feel. And so that's why the show's here. It's a lot easier to be incognito. You can come in the chat and whatever. You can make a fake name. Somebody made a fake Del Shanzi account in the beginning, and we had real Del, and then we had fake Del, and the fake Del was really nice. It was really funny. It was even his picture. But ask questions. Tell someone about the show. Share the show on social media. Listen, this is not about I'm trying to make some money or something like that. That's a benefit of it. I can take my wife out to eat with what I'm making from the show. It's a great thing, and I enjoy it. But anyways, let's make it bigger and better. I plan on giving away more stuff, bigger things. Yeah, I saw that, Parker. I don't know what that was.
It's the moth.
Ron, what do you got in your house, bro?
Everything's bigger in Texas, man.
We had the door open so the dogs could go outside.
I thought that was a bird.
Right, basically.
Yeah, but anyways, for the moderators, did you guys see anything that stood out to you as far as questions or comments? And then if not, we're going to let these guys get on the road because they got a long drive.
Someone asked earlier, they wanted to know where Ron and Parker, where did they get their training? I know Ron, I think you said you picked it up about 7 years ago, maybe.
Yeah,
His
about
story's
6.
better than mine.
Yeah, about 6 years ago, Captain Kurt was my first instructor, and the week he came here to Texas, the weather wasn't very favorable for flying. So I think after the week of training, I got up for maybe 2 or 3 very short flights before he left and said, congratulations, you're a pilot. So that was my first introduction. Then I went down and found Andy McGavin down in Galveston, Texas, and took some lessons from Andy as well. And after that, started hanging around other instructors, including Brian West at Austin Paramotor. And then I worked with him for a couple of years before opening Lonestar. So that's how I got my start. Not the way I would, I went through several different trainers and learned something from each of them.
Yeah, and I actually learned from Brian West and Ron. That's kind of how I met Ron, was out at the field while I was waiting on my training to start. But I trained down here with Austin Paramotor. The only thing that I was lacking in training is we were all good weather training days, so I did 0 reverses. 2 weeks after training, I got my gear, and then immediately went to beach blast. Then I got out on the sand in front of 150 other professional pilots and just looked like an idiot. The wing just beat the crap out of me for about half an hour, so they kicked me off the beach on day 1 because I had never done any reverse practice whatsoever. So I'm good now, obviously, but that first day it was a little bit rough. I felt like an idiot, but that's okay because I don't have a problem with that. I don't mind looking like an idiot.
Well, that's great. I'm going to give away the smoke machine or chase cam. And the winner tonight for either one of those machines, Shelly Holton. And that's pretty amazing. A female pilot. Out of the chances of you winning are very little compared to men. But Shelly, you are the one. What's that?
The chances of her existing are very little.
Yeah.
Number of men.
Paramotor. It might be somebody's wife. They wanted to get a double entry. But Shelly Holton from Georgia, congratulations. You're the winner. And I have your information. I'm going to send you a confirmation email and all that stuff very soon. So congratulations. You won a smoke machine or a chase cam. And I appreciate everybody who watches the show. If you win something, if you want a chase cam or you want a T-shirt or something like that, make sure you show your stuff off on the interwebs. And I'm trying to push everything towards Instagram. If you want to follow some of these guys on the social media, there's links in the description. All the guys that support the show, Paramotor Tools LLC, you need to check them out. I Fly Indiana, Tri-State Skywalkers, PPGSmoke.com, the guys and girls from Para Orange Products, and then also Mike Cotter and those guys from the FlyMyPPG.com. Guys, make sure you go support these guys. They're sponsors of the show. Make sure you go and show them some love, even if it's just to troll them. So I really appreciate everybody. Don't forget, next week's show is going to be epic. Clear your calendar for next week, at least for a little while. You're not going to want to miss it. I will tell you this. Tucker Gott's going to be on there with us tomorrow or next week. So that's just having Tucker on there. I know there'll be a bunch of people, but also there's many other names that are going to be a part of that show. You're not going to want to miss it. It's going to be really fun. And so thanks, guys. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to come on the show, and you're welcome to come on anytime. If I see in the chat, if you're hanging out and you want to join us, I know, Parker, you want to get in, be more involved. I'll absolutely have you being more involved. And so I really appreciate you guys, and I hope you guys have a safe trip.
Thank you. Appreciate being on here tonight.
Yeah. All right, guys. Anything else from the moderators? Anything that I need?
No, sir.
All right. You guys are awesome. Thank you, Anthony Peregringo. Sean, I know you can hear me, but I can't hear you. Larry, appreciate you. Brandon, you guys are awesome. Calvin, thank you for what you guys do for the show, and we'll see you on the next one. Next week's going to be a great time. Have fun. If I don't see you in the air, I'll see you on the air. Have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon.